something here. You know, I was quite hesitant to post to say something about this, but this happened 3 weeks ago. About 3 weeks ago, a friend of mine came over. He was distraught. He was upset. He was depressed, he says. Very depressed. But when he came, you know, he told me something. You know, I don't know if he said if I can share it or not, but I'm still gonna share it. Anyways, you know, I got a story that's hard to share. You know, it's real. That's why. You know, it's a real story. But I'm sharing it because it's real. You know, and it's happening. It's happened. It happened in our community, and I know others do the same too. Even to support their drugs, you know, they'll even borrow weed or pills just to sell, you know. I hear it. I hear all of them. A lot of them. Not all of them. But anyways, you know. We need to remind ourselves what it means to struggle, to feel like we're at the end of the rope, you know. We need to remember that behind every story, there's a person, you know, a family, a life being impacted, you know. There's a family in our community doing everything they can just to make ends meet, you know. They were forced into a desperate situation, you know, borrowing something that they shouldn't have, you know, that they shouldn't have had to, you know. But that's just to feed his family, you know. And that's sad, you know. What's sad too is that they borrowed at full price, but they sold it half price just so they can make the store, you know. That's no good. Just so he can feed his two kids, you know. That's heartbreaking, you know. When that it came to that, you know. We should be a community that supports each other, you know, especially such a small community, you know, that looks out for one another, for especially for the most vulnerable ones, you know. It's not easy. And that's what many don't seem to understand. You have money, you have a job, you know. Many of you guys don't even go to work at all, while the rest of us struggle. That's not fair. How do you guys see that as fair? You know, we need to do better. We need to create opportunities, you know, to provide support, to be there for each other, and we can't just turn a blind eye no more, you know, to these struggles. We need to be proactive. We need to make sure everyone has access to the resources they need. Eh? You know, let's work together to break the cycle. Let's create a community where everyone can thrive, eh? Where everyone has an equal opportunity, where no one feels alone, eh? Where no one feels like they're alone or where no one feels like they're at risk or having to do something that puts them at risk. Eh? That's no good. You know? But yes, continue get in for listening. I keep looking out my window. See my window. Always vehicles driving by. Who that? Anyways, continue guys getting I'll see you guys again later. I love you guys. I love you guys and I'll see you again. See you guys. Peace out.